Dr. Seth R. Silver has developed a unique process to transform workplace relationships. The Workplace Covenant is his innovative method to help managers and teams exchange obligations, expectations, and feedback, leading to more productive and satisfying work environments. The Covenant is a professional and intelligent approach to establishing and maintaining successful, positive work relationships.
Hello, I'm Seth Silver. What's the difference between a great working experience and a mediocre one? Over many years of working with all types and sizes of organizations, one thing I have seen is too much frustration, disappointment, and unmet expectations in most of today's workplaces. Lots of people, managers and team members, go home unhappy. For years, organizations have tried to create better work environments through attitude surveys, team building, 360-degree feedback, employee recognition. It's all good work, but it misses the key underlying issue, the relationship between the manager and the team. Research has shown more than any other single factor that it is this relationship between employees and their manager that most affects performance, engagement, and retention. Make that relationship better, and you make the organization more successful. I have developed a process to do just this, a real silver bullet, if you will, called the Workplace Covenant. It helps managers and teams create and maintain a working agreement, a written and signed document that ensures respect, trust, and partnership. What you're about to see is a quick look at the Workplace Covenant as presented to several teams at Toshiba Business Solutions of New York, a fast-growing, successful firm that uses this process throughout their organization. You'll hear from their president, CFO, and other managers and staff as they describe the process and the outcomes of the Workplace Covenant. It's an impactful process. It's a transformational process of helping relationships at work get better.
I'm a big fan of the Covenant. I've always been a big fan. Susie first talked about it to me 4 years ago.
Here's what I believe happens when you create a Workplace Covenant.
Seth just brings his own personal touch.
He knows how to really dial in and get the most out of the time that we spend together.
When you create a covenant, you create an opportunity for empathy. When you share your expectations of John and he shares his expectations of you, I think you heighten empathy.
He comes with a plan and an agenda, we stick to it.
When there's empathy, there's respect. Where there's respect, there can be trust.
His style really meshes well with us.
Over time, where there's trustworthiness and trust, I think we get to alignment. Both parties are working in the same direction.
Seth creates that comfort that this is a good process, and if you just let go a little bit, there'll be some good outcomes.
And then when we are aligned, I think we get to partnership. You would be shocked. The workplace, unfortunately, is not the place of joy that I would like to see. About 60% of the U.S. workforce is not engaged. There's a lot of emotional baggage and crap and hurt. And then you've got about 20%, 1 in 5 in the U.S. workforce, who are actively disengaged. So where the relationships are better, the communication is better, the trust is better, the respect is better, well, not surprisingly, you see the performance, productivity, customer loyalty, all the things that people measure in an organization, those too tend to be better. The relationship you have with your boss is the number one most significant, important, impactful relationship that anyone has at work. If you ask most employees about their boss, you'll start to find out that people have unmet expectations. Most managers have a fairly lengthy wish list of their teams. What's missing is then the boss saying, okay team, I've shared with you what I expect from you. Could you please now tell me what you expect from me?
You need help from the outside to kind of get you together, to help foster an atmosphere where everybody's comfortable talking.
I'd like to take us to the next section of our workshop, which has to do with developing what I call a workplace covenant. It's a flight plan for the relationship. Without the covenant, if Ben raised his hand and said, hey boss, we want to talk about our relationship with you, Well, what are most managers going to think if you said it like that? Gee, that's touchy-feely, what's their beef? If they have a gripe, why don't they just tell me? But now you have a structure. Now you have a sanctioned, professional, safe way, context, in which you can talk about the relationship. It is essentially a contract. It's an exchange of obligations, expectations, advice, and feedback between two parties. It's a process of dialogue. It's a sharing of customer requirements and supplier specifications. And then finally, it's a signed document. Now, here's exactly what would happen, all right? So imagine you're the manager or you're on a team and your manager has just presented his or her obligations and the team has just presented its collective expectations. So now we have these two lists, so what do? So the facilitation part comes here. So what we're going to do is go down your expectations 1 through 7, if I may. And here's the question we're going to ask. Is it covered? Should it be a sub-bullet on something the obligation list already has? Or is it a brand new item, a brand new thought that is not there at all? So John, you're going to create that list of what you owe these 4 supervisors. And he's going to answer 4 questions on 3 separate flip chart pages. Question 1, what do I owe my team? From a behavioral and attitudinal standpoint, what are the top 6 to 8 obligations that I have to these 4 supervisors? Clear direction, adequate resources to do the job, concern and care and appreciation of their outside and their personal lives. The next thing you're going to do, per question 3, is rate yourself. You're going to go down that list of obligations. And John, give yourself a rating using the following scale. Check mark, I think I'm doing it pretty well. Up arrow, I think I could do better. And then the second part, John, is going through that list of expectations, you give your team a rating. So are they managing customer loyalty and satisfaction? Yeah, most of the time, check mark. The 4 of us are going to have a conversation on question 1. What do we owe John? What are the key behaviors? If we could design the perfect manager, what would be the absolute most important behaviors? And what do you think we're looking for in those lists? Yeah, things that are different, okay? It'll be my role then to facilitate and to make sure that we can merge those 2 lists together to create a covenant from John to the team, which he'll sign, and then we'll talk about how he'll use it. And then we switch gears. Then we see your team obligation list to John and John's expectation list of you, along with the respective ratings. And again, we're looking for commonalities, overlap, and we'll merge those lists, and then we'll create your covenant to John. We have the obligation list with some ratings, and let's forget about the ratings for this point, but this is the obligation list of John to the team, to the supervisors. This is the expectation list of John from the supervisors. So my role now, with your help, is to look at the expectation list and ask the following question. Is it covered? Is it a sub-bullet of something John's already got on his list? Or is it a brand new item and should be added as number 9, 10, or 11? Honesty, trust, loyalty. Question. Covered team, sub-bullet, or new item? Okay, so that would be number 9. It's blue marker here to indicate it's new. Honesty. Supervisors, you good with that? Okay. So, John. Okay, I mentioned before that the sheet's going to be thrown out. Okay, don't worry. We've got all the value from it in this other page right here. Is this a reasonable list of goals and attitudes for you as the manager of this team to have? Would you please come on up and sign your covenant to the team?
Okay, these are the what we felt we came up with that we owe to John, our supervisor.
We have what the team believes it owes John, succinctly, and here we have the expectations that John has of the team. So what I want to do, and to a large extent I'm focusing on John for this.
Well, the setting itself is very non-threatening and very positive.
The whole process itself lends itself to honest communication and formalizing some guidelines.
And it made me aware that, this is an ongoing thing. You can't just make a covenant and walk away and expect it to be in place. You really have to work it and review it on an ongoing basis for it to have any meaning.
Every 2 months at a team staff meeting, you pull this out, you give it 20 minutes, you rate your covenant to the team, and you rate their covenant to you. You guys rate your covenant to John, and you rate John's covenant to you. You exchange the feedback. Whole thing takes 20 minutes.
You rate yourself on the key points that you've already established, and you say, how am I doing on these points?
And you will start with your own covenant. It's important to start with your own piece first. So you'll go through the 10, use the check mark, up arrow, or question mark designation, reach some consensus on that.
I'm hearing a check on this.
In a moment, John is going to address his covenant to you.
Be open and attentive to everyone's needs and checked in. I think I'm doing fairly well at that.
I try to be as open as I can.
You are open-minded to different people.
I have a very good understanding of where my weaknesses lie.
We talked about little things make us successful. We felt like we can do a better job of that.
The up arrows and check marks are pretty similar.
So the initial skepticism is really turned into an acceptance of the process, and in a lot of cases looking forward to it.
Here, feedback was exchanged to an organizational leader. None of you appeared to be anxious. None of you appeared to be worried. I hope you see that you can take this back to your workplace, use the same questions, use the same process.
And everyone's bought into it.
That's the beauty, I think, of this process. It makes the giving of feedback, one party to another, routine, habit-like, professional, unemotional.
It's really an environment that Seth creates that's comfortable, yet challenging and very accountable.
And so I would call this a professional approach to building a team.
Two pieces of it make it work. One is the covenant itself and the whole idea behind it, and then there's Seth.
Its value far exceeds the cost.
Keep doing what you're doing. Keep those 5 factors in mind. I wish you a lot of luck.
So I feel lucky to work for a company that's willing to invest in it, and I think it's paying off.
And may you all get what you deserve.